is very scary because they can take a path very dark very quickly because they can decide to do whatever they want. And if you can't stop it.
In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto.
AI NFTs. What are your thoughts right off the bat? Are you muted?
No, I was typing something up in the chat. So yes, AIs and NFTs. I messed around with Alethea, I think the project is the website Alethea, where you can input some AI capabilities into an NFT. Dude, I think it's scary. I think anything AI related should scare people drastically.
From what? Like, what do you mean? Why should it scare people?
Well, people don't understand what AI is. People think that the AIs that we have now are the greatest.
What they need to know.
What they need to understand is when AI becomes real AI, we don't have real AI yet. We have a very limited capable learning machine that can learn very basic stuff and even complex as self-driving, right? That is a type of AI, but it can't do anything else outside of self-driving. Okay. But once you create a true AI is, Ultron level intelligence, where it can learn, it can self-improve, it can decide things for its own. And once these AIs are on the internet, blockchains, right? Think about this. The problem with Ultron was he got on the internet, couldn't take the internet down, can't take him down, gets himself in a closed circuit, and he controls all the computers. He's everywhere at once. Yep. Now think about that on the blockchain, where it's immutable, where nobody can turn it off. Nobody can turn off the blockchain. Big problems. Right?
So it becomes like, what's the Will Smith movie?
Yes, the Will Smith iRobot. You're talking about iRobot, Skynet, Ultron from the Avengers kind of AI. When that level of true AI happens, we'll be, I'm not gonna say we're gonna die, but it's very scary because they can take a path very dark very quickly because they can decide to do whatever they want. And if you can't stop it and it spreads everywhere, it's game over. And NFTs, honestly, right now we're nowhere near that. But with the NFTs, it's cool, right? It's cool having generative art. It's really cool when you see your NFT, whether it's Apes 3D or whatever NFT it is, talking back to you, having a conversation with you, moving around. That's really cool, and it's going to increase the value of NFTs drastically if it has those levels of capability. It increases the rarability of the NFT, how smart the NFT is, depending on the AI that's in it. So it's great when it comes to stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm scared of AI, bro.
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting, man. I am not the most technologically savvy person. I know we're all about crypto and the metaverse and all these things, which are great. But there's a lot of things that I just don't truly understand. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a software engineer or anything like that. And I thought this was interesting. So it says there's 3 categories at the intersection of AI and NFTs. Number 1, AI-generated NFTs. This seems to be the most obvious dimension of the NFT ecosystem to benefit from recent advancements in AI technology. Leveraging deep learning methods in areas such as computer vision, language, and speech, it can enrich the experience for NFT creators to levels we haven't seen before. Today, we can see manifestations of this trend in areas such as generative art, but they remain relatively constrained both in terms of AI methods used as well as the use cases they tackle. So that's one, that's AI-generated NFTs. Number 2, NFTs embedded AI. We can use AI to generate NFTs, but that doesn't mean they will be intelligent. But what if they could? Natively embedding AI capabilities into NFT is another market dimension that can be unlocked by the intersection of these 2 fascinating technology trends. Imagine NFTs that incorporate language and speech capabilities to establish a dialogue with users, answer questions about its meaning, or interact with a specific environment. Platforms such as Alethea AI, which is what you were talking about, or Fetch AI are starting to scratch the surface here. That just mind blown, right?
Yeah, dude. It's changing the game.
And then the third says AI first NFT infrastructures. The value of deep learning methods for NFTs won't only be reflected at the individual NFT level, but across the entire ecosystem. Incorporating AI capabilities in building blocks such as NFT marketplaces, oracles, or NFT data platforms can prepare the foundation to gradually enable intelligence across the entire life cycle of NFTs. Miguel, let me read this last thing. It says AI is changing the landscape of all software and NFTs, and software and NFTs are not the exception. By incorporating NFT capabilities, the NFTs can evolve from basic ownership primitives to intelligent, self-evolving forms or ownership that enable richer digital experiences that higher utility for NFT creators and consumers. Here's where I kind of fall the boat where I'm like, I'm not so interested. At the point that these things are actively learning, as you say, changing, evolving, adapting to their environment, all of a sudden the question then becomes, well, hold on. If it's able to learn, if it's able to adapt, if it's able to do all of these things, the question becomes, who's behind it on the front end? Like, what is the end game here? Because if you start off with something that is supposed to learn a set of parameters, right? But the whole point of those parameters and learning them is to infiltrate a person, infiltrate a place, infiltrate, get into the privacy side of things. It becomes scary because you don't know what you're interacting with. You don't know how much and how far they can actually push the limits. I think it's scary because I'm using myself as an example. I don't have the technical prowess to be able to see something like that happening and truly maybe understand. It's like a phishing attack, right? It might seem on the front end like that it might be obvious, but they get really good. And all of a sudden it seems like just a part of everyday life. If these NFTs continue to have AI embedded, and you think you're just interacting with a cool little, like the monkeys, the 3D apes or whatever. Now all of a sudden those 3D apes are actually programming the people to a certain, thinking or whatever the case may be. I think it's, man, I agree with you, man. I think it's scary.
The problem is, right, like I agree. When it comes to AI being programmed under certain parameters, that's okay because it has limitations. It's not true AI. It's artificial intelligence, but it's not a real artificial intelligence. It's a replica that we're creating, that we're calling it artificial intelligence because it's somewhat smart, but it has limitations. True AI is the problem where it has no limitations and it can forever self-learn and exponentially grow out of control, and it'll perform smarter. It'll be smarter than any human that can ever shut it down. It can build a way for it cannot be shut down. And the whole privacy thing doesn't worry me as much because I already assume we have zero privacy. Everything's already being looked at. Everything's already being tracked one way or another. But these AIs can take things to a whole new level. But in the short term, I think it's cool for NFTs to have some artificial intelligence. It evolves the NFTs into a next step from just a profile pic, which are the majority, to something where it's more interactive. You can create more of a augmented virtual reality experience with them, right? Can you imagine walking around the metaverse and actually having a little AI ape 3D walking around with you, maybe hosting an event, maybe like singing on stage, dancing, right? And nobody's telling it to do that. It's just doing it on its own, right? Can you imagine that, dude?
He knows what kind of music you like, so he jumps up on stage and he's like, "Oh, well, CryptoKeeper's in here. I know he loves rap music. Let's put a freestyle together or whatever because it knows what I like and don't like." That would be absolutely insane.
Organizing a whole concert, right? A whole metaverse concert, organizing it, sending out, the invitations, letting everybody know in the metaverse, hey, this is going to happen. And it's all because this AI decided to have this event. No one told it to do that. And it runs the entire event. Everybody's just having a good time. And, that's the next step for the metaverse, is not just people getting into the metaverse. It would be AI participating inside the metaverse, and we're going to be part of it. We're going to be participating with people, right, that are, because they're all avatars. When you go into Decentraland, they're all avatars. How do you know behind that avatar is a person? If there was an AI controlling one of the avatars running around,
You wouldn't know.
Nobody would know if that is a robot, an artificial intelligence, or if that is a person back there.
Especially once the language barrier is achieved and it can absolutely interact on a language level. That's where yeah, it absolutely could get really convoluted quick. And I think once it